Okay, I know I'm a little late on the video, but between all of my issues with my webcam and everything else happening, I haven't really had time to get it done. But I wanted to do a 2010 to 2020 video, basically like a video of the last decade, to go through all of the years. And while I was actually going through everything that I wanted to talk about in the video, I realized how much has actually happened in my life over the last decade, and I guess that was a little bit of an eye-opener. Granted, I mean, in the long run, like 10 years doesn't really seem like that long, but then again, at the same time it does, so. But starting in 2010, I lived in Wyoming. I was 20 years old. I turned 30 in March of this year. So I was 20 at the time. I lived in Wyoming. I lived in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I did not like it. It snows there about 8 months out of the year. I don't like the snow. I don't like the cold. Right now, it's about 49 degrees in Florida, and I don't like it. It's too cold for me. Don't like the cold. Don't like the snow. And I was married to my first husband in 2010, who was stationed at the the Air Force Base up in Wyoming. So, that was my 2010. In 2011, my husband at the time got honorably discharged from the military, and we moved back to Florida. And we stayed with my parents. I just turned 21 around this time. He was, I believe, 25. We got married stupidly young. We hadn't been together that long. We moved in together after only knowing each other for about 2 months. Dating for 2 months. So due to the stress of us not being able to find a job, us not having our own place, and all of that, the marriage ended up falling apart pretty quickly. And that's also the same year that I met my second husband. In 2012, I was divorced from my first husband, and I also had become pregnant. I had become pregnant in 2011, November 2011. I got pregnant from my second husband, my son's father. And in 2012, me and my first husband were divorced, and in May of that year, April of that year, my son's father and I got married. We mainly only got married due to me being pregnant. He was in the Army, stationed up in Hinesville, Georgia. Doctor bills are really expensive, and he was in the military, so they paid for all the doctor visits and everything. I know that's not the reason to get married, but it kind of was one of our reasons. I'm not saying it was the only reason, but yeah. And I ended up moving to Georgia, and later on in that same year, like really late in that year, my second husband at the time got honorably discharged from the Army. We had also taken a Full Sail University tour, and this is where I decided that I wanted to become a video game creator in the art aspect. So I had finally decided what I wanted to do with my future. I just didn't know when I was going to be able to do it. So now he was discharged from the military. We had a 1-year-old, not even a 1-year-old. Then on to 2013, we moved up to Washington State, where my husband, his family, all of his friends, they're pretty much all up there. Not all of them, but most of them were up there. And I didn't know anyone. All of my family, all of my friends were down here in Florida, Georgia. So we ended up moving 3,000 miles away, and it was not a mental friendly thing for me. especially when postpartum depression runs in my family and all that stuff. We ended up getting a place where my husband at the time's best friend was our roommate, and our marriage ended up falling apart at the end of around the end of 2013. And it was a pretty terrible time for me. It was around end of November, I believe. I had become addicted to pain pills. It was a bad. Washington was just a whole bad issue in my life. And then in 2014, we separated. I moved out, and we had a parenting plan set up for our son. Right before I moved out of the apartment that we had been staying in, I ended up overdosing myself, and I was in the hospital for 4 days straight. It was honestly a really good thing for me. I have been clean ever since. So 6 years now. I have been completely clean from pain pills. I'm just now getting to where I can keep like Tylenol and ibuprofen in my bathroom. I kind of stayed away from pretty much all of that stuff throughout the years, unless it was medically necessary that I take something, like if I had surgery or anything like that. But it was a really good thing for me being in the hospital. The nurses were really nice because I had to be under watch 24/7 due to suicide watch. I had to go through a psych evaluation. I was basically Baker acted. And everyone was really helpful and supportive while I was there. And it kind of changed my life around a lot of it. And then I ended up in another terrible relationship, probably the worst relationship I've ever been in. It was really bad. I'm not going to go into details, but it was really bad. After I couldn't take mentally pretty much anything up in Washington anymore. In October, I moved back in with my parents in Florida, where I still live. They paid my way to get down here, and they shipped all of my stuff down here. And then between the end of 2014 and the beginning of 2015, things were pretty mentally terrible for me. I rarely ever got out of bed. I didn't eat. It was really bad. I started going to therapy, and I quickly stopped going to therapy. I got diagnosed with borderline personality disorder during my couple of visits to therapy, and after that I pretty much just stopped going. I didn't really have any interest in trying to fix myself mentally, I guess. Around the summertime, things started to look up for me. I started to get out of my depression from the whole Washington everything, and I also started college at Full Sail University for video game artwork, which I am now graduated from. So things were going better. I was keeping myself distracted. I had school. I had to take care of my son still, obviously. And I ended up having dental reconstructive surgery in March. And so I was kind of getting everything in order. I was going back to school. I was taking care of my health. I was in therapy. And then around February of 2016, my grandmother passed away, and my immediate family kind of fell apart for a while. We hadn't seen my grandma in a hot minute, and it's also the same year that physically my health started to decline. um, I ended up on Depo Provera for a year in 2016, and then we also ended up with Hurricane Matthew, which we evacuated for. We went up to the north side of Georgia and stayed with some friends. And whenever the World of Warcraft movie came out, my boyfriend at the time and I took a trip to Texas, and we went to Phoenix TierCon, which is the name of my World of Warcraft guild that my character is still in, even though I don't play anymore. But basically, my guild leader would open up his doors to anyone that was in the guild and wanted to come over. Whenever we went, my boyfriend wasn't even part of the guild. He played Horde. Whenever we went, it ended up being 22 people staying in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Some people ended up sleeping in the backyard in a tent, I believe. And we all went and we saw the World of Warcraft movie together as a guild, and most of us stayed for around 5 days. We ended up taking a Greyhound bus there, and it was a terrible idea. I hate Greyhound. I don't hate Greyhound. I hate traveling by Greyhound. It was bad. But that was really fun. I haven't had a chance to end up going again, but I would really like to. Then in 2017, things got better, and then they also kind of got worse at the same time. Mentally, I was doing better, but emotionally, I was doing a lot worse. And it was at this time that I also started moving away from YouTube, and I started streaming on Twitch because of the game SOS. And we also had another hurricane evacuation. This is also the same year that I started going to more events. I got out of the house more. I tried to take care of myself mentally better. And of course, SOS alphas. If anyone on here keeps up with my YouTube or my Twitch, mainly my YouTube, I still put up SOS videos. I'm still editing them because I'm so behind and I'm really bad at it. And I know, but SOS kind of really got me into streaming. I still really miss the game, but it's dead, and I think it kind of needs to stay that way, but that's my opinion. And I'm talking about the original game, not any copies or anything that comes out. But like, there was so much drama and angst in that game. But yeah. And I started working as a nanny. And it was my first year going to GAM. And then because I had been on Depo Rivera for over a year, it really messed me up. Physically, it ruined my physical health. I ended up with hypothyroidism, and I ended up in early onset menopause. So I'm on meds for the rest of my life. My THC balance is really off, and my hormones are completely out of whack. And it was really bad. I was sleeping like 18 hours a day, and I was still exhausted. 2018 was probably the best year and worst year of my life. Emotionally, in the beginning, it was really bad. School was going horribly. My relationships were going horrible. And I was literally having emotional breakdowns. My health, you know, I just gotten diagnosed with hypothyroidism. I was on meds for the rest of my life. It was bad. Things were going bad. I kept myself busy with SOS and streaming and YouTube. I kind of dissed my schoolwork a lot during that time because I just mentally, I couldn't really do much. So I kind of just streamed a lot. But I did try, I tried to keep myself really busy. I even ended up going to League of Legends ROG tournaments and playing in them. And stuff like that. I tried to get out of my comfort zone. I tried to work on fixing myself. And it helped in the long run, I would say. But I just try to keep myself busy a lot of the year. And then in December, or the end of November, I can't really remember. I'm pretty sure it was like the very beginning of December, I met my current amazing boyfriend, which I will leave a link to his YouTube down below. And this is also the same year that my son starts kindergarten. In 2019, last year, literally only a year ago, my son was diagnosed with DMDD, which is disruptive mood dysregulation disorder. And it's something that kids either grow out of or they end up with bipolar disorder. But they're pretty sure my son's gonna grow out of it. But he currently sees 2 psychiatrists and a therapist pretty regularly. He is on medication. Between my boyfriend, I, and my son, it's been a learning process, but things are going a whole lot better than they were. Anger issues and everything. His grades never suffered. He was actually tested for being gifted. His grades are amazing, but his behavior was just, it was terrible. Like, I would have to go to pick him up from school at least once a week, but we're doing a lot better now. And in 2019, he also started 1st grade. And then of course, you know, I did all of the holidays with my boyfriend. We had our first Christmas, and I finally had a 1-year anniversary with a significant other after like 6 years. It's been 6 years since I've had a relationship last that long. I am not good at them. Don't ask me for advice. I'm terrible at them. And then we had another hurricane. The hurricane did not actually hit Florida though. Go figure. Stupid hurricane. I hate them. And then of course I graduated college. I think that actually happened before the hurricane. This is not in chronological order apparently. I got my Bachelor of Science in Video Game Art. I walked down the aisle. You know, I never got the recording of me walking down the aisle. Oh well. But I did walk down the aisle. I went to my school. I walked. My boyfriend was there in the audience. Everyone else watched at home. My boyfriend started school and he's currently getting the same degree that I graduated with, Bachelor of Science in Video Game Art. And then in September, I was actually on my way to get my first ever tattoo. And we were in a car wreck. I'm gonna make a completely separate video on this later on. I can't really talk about it much right now. But someone ran a stop sign right in front of us and we T-boned them. I wasn't driving, I was the passenger. But because of this, the car wreck was really severe. Both cars were totaled. I ended up losing my job because of medical problems. I couldn't do the job. So they ended up letting me go. And my boyfriend couldn't work at the time either due to medical injuries. We were not at fault, of course. He was at fault. He ran the stop sign, but Florida is a no-fault state. Legal battle, yippee hooray! I ended up going to Washington State for a family reunion for my son's side of the family. That was fun-ish. The holidays were pretty stressful because of financial problems because of the car wreck. And then at the end of last year, I also started university again. I am going to Full Sail University for computer animation this time, which is what I wanted to do with the video game art degree, but they didn't offer everything that I needed to know. So I'm going back for a second degree. I also started doing art commissions, mainly emotes for Twitch and YouTube. and bit badges, sub badges. But people have also started asking me for like logo avatars, character avatars, profile pictures, and I've even gotten one full character, like legit character drawing. And these are things that I never thought I would do. I don't think I'm bad at drawing. I don't think I'm bad at artwork, but I know that there are so many people out there that are just like way better than me. So it's not something that I thought that I could do, but I do it. And now it is 2020. It is the 9th of 2020. We'll see when this video goes live how many days have passed. And it's already been a long year. My dad's birthday is on the 1st of January. He was born on New Year's Day, and he turned 84 years old. And then on the 3rd of January, my boyfriend turned 34. We celebrated their birthdays together on the 2nd. Mentally, emotionally, physically, besides the car wreck, I am doing immensely better than I probably ever have. Which I am, it's not an easy thing for me, but I am working on all three of those things. And I'm gonna keep going with that and keep getting better at that. But yeah, that's my decade in a nutshell. Of course, there's a lot of things that I'm not gonna talk about, but yeah, the beginning of the decade was pretty hard for me. The first like 5, 6, up until like 2016, it was pretty bad. But yeah. Anyways, I will leave it at that. This year, we still have all of this year to go through, so I'm not gonna, knock on wood right now. But if you liked the video, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe down below. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.